Part 158. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1571. Chapter 1571. You passed our audition. After all, the women around them can only be obtained if they have money. It's not that easy. Boss Huang frowned, with a sad look in his eyes. She is not one of those women who can be solved with just a little money. I heard that Bai Yusheng is covering her, otherwise, I would have found a way to put her. Got it? The woman covered by the white jade Sheng. When several men in the box heard the name Bai Yusheng, they all showed some fear on their faces. I thought the woman that Boss Huang was talking about was an ordinary person. If it were covered with a white jade Sheng, most people would really not dare to make any decisions. Tell me, what are you afraid of? A man hugged the woman in his arms and kissed her, and said disapprovingly, "It's just a woman, let's find a way to get her to play with." Boss Huang was itching, but he was also afraid. I wouldn't dare. If I offend Bai Yusheng, wouldn't I be in trouble? Then don't let him know. The man continued to come up with bad ideas. Find someone to follow her, knock her unconscious and take her away. Once she faints, you can do whatever you want. Just find a place to throw her away after you have finished playing. How can she know who you are? Besides, she is just the woman Bai Yusheng is covering, and she is not Bai Yusheng's serious girlfriend. Even if something happens, Bai Yusheng can't make it so ugly because of a woman. Boss Huang has been coveting Chiao Mian ever since he met him that day. Even in his dreams, he wanted to get Chiao Mian. He asked someone to inquire and found out that Chiao Mian and Bai Yusheng were not related at all. But Bai Yusheng did take good care of her. Boss Huang is greedy, but he still has a lot of worries. He did not dare to offend Bai Yusheng. He couldn't afford to offend Bai Yusheng. However, after hearing what the man just said, he was a little moved. Yeah, find someone to follow him, and when the time comes, knock him out and send him over. After playing with it, find a place to throw her before she wakes up. How can she know anything? The more Boss Huang thought about it, the more he felt that this method was feasible. The stunning figure appeared in his mind again, and he was so excited that his face turned red. Asterisk. The next day, when Chiao Mian received the notice from the crew, she thought she was awake and was dreaming. Because she was woken up by the ringing of her mobile phone in her sleep. "Miss Chiao, congratulations, you passed our audition. We will discuss the specific role arrangements in detail when you arrive at the company." After the notification was finished, he hung up the phone. Chiao Mian still kept answering the phone, still a little unresponsive. Her mind was buzzing, and after a few seconds, the computer that seemed to have crashed returned to normal, and her eyes and facial expressions gradually became normal. The other party hung up the phone and sent her another text message, telling her the address where the contract was signed. Chiao Mian tightened her phone and read the text messages over and over again. Afraid that she might have misunderstood something, she read each word very slowly, then combined all the words together and read it again carefully. After watching it for the fourth time and confirming that it was correct, she really believed that her audition was successful. The huge surprise fell instantly. She was so happy that she was stunned. Why is this completely different from the content of the script? Generally speaking, if you agree to go back and wait for notification, it means there is no chance. Without any hope, such news was undoubtedly a great surprise to her. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1572. Chapter 1572. Baby is so awesome. Winning 50 million would even surprise her. She called Linda immediately. As soon as Linda was connected, Chiao Mian said excitedly, "Sister Xie, I got the audition." Linda was probably awakened by her phone call. When she spoke, her voice was scratchy, as if she had just woken up. What audition did you get? It was yesterday's audition. Chiao Mian was so excited that she shared her joy. It was yesterday's audition. Chiao Mian was extremely excited, sharing her joy with her. They called just now and said that I passed the audition and asked me to go to their company tomorrow to officially sign a contract. Linda was silent for a few seconds. Just when Chiao Mian thought she hadn't heard clearly and was about to say it again, Linda suddenly raised her voice and said, "You said you auditioned for yesterday's audition." You sure? I wasn't sure at first, so I asked several times. Now I'm sure. Linda was silent for a while again. Ha ha ha, this is a good thing. Her cheerful laughter came from the mobile phone. I didn't expect that you actually passed the audition. You told me that yesterday, and I thought you had no hope. Yet Chiao Mian couldn't help but sigh. I also felt that I had no hope at that time. So, she feels particularly surprised now. This is indeed a surprise. The fact that you can be selected is a recognition of your strength. Being able to star in such a movie will be of great benefit to your future career development. I will go with you when the contract is signed tomorrow. Well, Sister Xie, are you going out for dinner tonight? I'll treat you to a treat to celebrate. Okay, since we're going to treat you, why don't you invite Qin Han along? After all, he helped you get this audition opportunity. It's natural. I originally planned to treat him to dinner and thank him properly. That's settled then. After Chiao Mian hung up the phone, she sent another text message to Qin Han. A few minutes later, Qin Han replied to her, "Congratulations, let me know if you have decided on a place for the evening." After she sent the drama message to Qin Han, she sent another WeChat message to Mo Yesi. "Chiao Mian, Mo Yesi, I want to share some good news with you. I auditioned for an awesome movie, and I auditioned. You know, there were so many people auditioning yesterday, and they were all more famous than me and had been in the industry longer than me. I originally thought I had no hope. Who knew, I actually passed the audition, and I'm super happy now. It's a pity that you are not here, otherwise I could treat you to dinner." The man responded to her quickly. "Mo Yesi, is my baby so powerful? You can actually act in a movie." Chiao Mian looked at this reply and raised the corners of her lips. "I never thought I could succeed in the audition. After the audition, they asked me to go back and wait for notification. I thought it was definitely out of the question. Unexpectedly, someone called me just now and told me that I passed the audition. Mo Yesi, baby is so awesome. It seems that you should treat me to dinner. Just pay for this meal first." Chiao Mian chatted with Mo Yesi for a while, knowing that he was busy, so she didn't pester him for too long. She saw that the time was almost up, so she got up and took a shower. Asterisk. Arrived at the set. As soon as she got out of the car, she saw a car parked next to her. Qin Han got out of the car. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1573. Chapter 1573. Who did you see? Seeing her, Qin Han walked towards her. When he reached her, he stopped and said with a smile, "Congratulations on the successful audition. I should thank Brother Han for giving me this opportunity." Chiao Mian said with gratitude in her eyes, "If Brother Han hadn't recommended me, I wouldn't have even had a chance to audition. I recommended you to go, but it's not up to me to decide whether you can pass the audition." Qin Han curled his lips. "It's all up to you. Shenfei told me that you performed very well. In the scene you acted, even she was moved by you and her eyes became wet. For her to praise you like this, it shows that you are really relying on yourself. I got the role based on my ability. Senior Shen, did you praise me? Well, Shenfei said that you are extremely malleable and are a good prospect. I think so too. Qin Han paused and said seriously, Mian, you are talented in acting, so you are suitable for this bowl of rice. I know you may not lack good resources now. Even if I don't introduce you to the audition, you will be able to get good resources in the future. But I still hope that no matter how many good resources you get in the future, you can also use your heart to treat every role, rather than the nature of playing tickets. Qin Han feels that it would be a pity for a talented actor like Xiao Mian to act just for fun. It was a waste of her talent and aura in acting. Brother Han, don't worry. Xiao Mian smiled and said, it has always been my dream to be an excellent actor and perform works that are praised and satisfying. No matter what happens in the future, acting will be my lifelong dream. Hobbies and dreams. I will definitely take it seriously. That's good. Asterisk. A whole day passed. The shooting is over. After Xiao Mian asked about Qin Han's taste, she found a unique hot pot restaurant and asked Bai Yushen to have dinner with her. Bai Yushen and Qin Han have something to do at night. After eating, the two left. Xiao Mian thought that there would be nothing to do in the evening, so she booked a private room at a KTV and went there with Linda to continue the celebration. Linda drove the car. After the two arrived at the KTV, the waiter led them to the reserved box. When Xiao Mian and Linda entered the box, the door of the box opposite them happened to open. A man with a big belly came out of the box. The man walked to the door, his eyes suddenly widened, and when his eyes fell on Xiao Mian, it was as if he was glued to her. I don't want to move away anymore. Until the door of the opposite compartment was closed, the man was still standing at the door in a daze, staring at the closed door, motionless. There is another man behind the man. Seeing this, he raised his eyebrows and said, Boss Huang, who did you see? Are the two beauties opposite you people you know? Do you want to invite them over for a drink? Boss Huang came to his senses. His fleshy face was so excited that his muscles were trembling. A pair of eyes, like a hungry wolf seeing a fat sheep, their eyes are shining green. Unexpectedly, he would meet the beauty who fascinated him here. Boss Huang was recalling the beautiful back view just now, feeling like there were countless bugs crawling in his heart, and he was extremely itchy. He called the bartender. Send a fruit plate and 2 bottles of red wine to the 2 ladies in the opposite compartment, and say it's from me. Asterisk. In the box. Xiao Mian and Linda had just sat down for a while, and before they had chosen a song, they heard someone knocking on the door. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1574. Chapter 1574. Miss Xiao, nice to see you again. Xiao Mian thought it was what they ordered and said come in. The door was pushed open. 2 waiters came over. One waiter was holding a super large fruit plate, and the other was holding 2 bottles of red wine and 2 goblets. The 2 of them put down the red wine and fruit plate. Xiao Mian took a look and asked doubtfully, what is this? Sister Xie, is this what you ordered? She remembered that they didn't order any wine. The fruit plate I ordered is not that big. Linda also took a look and shook her head, I didn't order it. Xiao Mian didn't order it either. She stopped the waiter, did you send the wrong ones? We didn't order these things. The waiter took a look, confirmed it, and said with a smile, you 2 ladies, you have indeed not ordered anything on the table. This is what a gentleman invited you. Xiao Mian was startled, a gentleman invited us. Yes. What's the name of the gentleman you're talking about? The gentleman is in the box facing each other inside. He said that if the 2 ladies are interested, they can go and play in their box. Xiao Mian and Linda looked at each other, with doubts in their eyes. they would definitely not dare to eat or drink the fruit plate and red wine sent by the unknown person. Chiao Mian hesitated for a moment, then stood up and said, "Sister Xie, I'll go check out the opposite compartment. Please wait for me for a while. Don't you need me to go with you?" "No, I'll go see who it is, I'll be back soon." After she finished speaking, she followed the two waiters and walked out of the box. Asterisk. The person Chiao Mian first guessed was Yan Shaoqing. Because among her acquaintances of the opposite sex, only Yan Shaoqing often likes to play in these places. And Yan Shaoqing has done similar things before. The waiter took Chiao Mian to the door of the opposite compartment, then reached out and knocked on the door. After getting permission, he opened the door. The private room was already noisy, and the moment the door opened, the sounds of men and women laughing and cursing could be heard. The light inside was a bit dark. Chiao Mian stood at the door and looked inside. All she saw were unfamiliar faces. Further in, it becomes a bit unclear. When the door opened and the people in the box raised their heads and saw her standing at the door, all the men were stunned, and then their eyes showed surprise at the same time. What a beautiful little girl! Like a fairy falling from the sky, so beautiful that it's unbelievable. She is different from the women in the box who wear heavy makeup. Even though there is no makeup on her face and she is dressed very ordinary, she still makes people think she is too beautiful. Compared with her, all the women accompanying her in the box were called vulgar. All the men looked directly at her, and all the female companions beside them were thrown aside by them, and they suddenly felt boring. These are said to be the most beautiful women in the place, and none of them can compare with the girl at the door. In this group of people, Boss Huang is the most excited. Seeing Chiao Mian standing at the door, he was full of surprise and immediately stood up and walked towards Chiao Mian. "Ms. Chiao, nice to see you again." Boss Wang's eyes moved around, and he quickly looked at Chiao Mian secretly, and his heart became more and more salivating. This Chiao Mian is truly a rare beauty. Such a beauty, if he could only look at her but not touch her, he would suffocate to death. Boss Huang is half a head shorter than Chiao Mian. As soon as Chiao Mian lowered his head, he saw his bald head shining. She looked at Boss Huang with coveted eyes, frowned, held back her disgust and said, "End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss." Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1575. Chapter 1575. Do you dare to offend Bai Yisheng? She looked at Boss Huang with salivating eyes, frowned, held back her disgust, turned around and asked the waiter behind her, "Who sent the red wine and fruit plate just now?" "It's me." Before the waiter could speak, Boss Huang answered first, "I saw Miss Chiao just now. I originally wanted to go over and say hello to you, but I was afraid of disturbing the beauty. That's why I greeted Miss Chiao in that way. Since Miss Chiao is here, why not play with us here?" Boss Huang is a vulgar person to begin with. He was talking to Chiao Mian in a formal manner, which gave people a nondescript feeling. Those who often hang out with Boss Huang and know him well find the scene very funny. "MD, I'm almost laughing to death. This is the first time I've seen Boss Huang pick up girls in this way. I don't know who I learned this elegant emphasis from. It seems that this woman really catches his eye. Is this the woman he just talked about? She is indeed very decent looking. It's no wonder that flower masters like Lao Huang are obsessed with her. Don't tell me, this girl is really on point. I rarely see such a decent looking woman. Tisk tisk, look at that face, that figure, and that snow-like skin. You can imagine it just by looking at it? It will definitely be fun to play. What you said makes me want to play too. You'd better stop thinking about it. Didn't Lao Huang say that this woman has something to do with Bai Yisheng? Do you dare to offend Bai Yisheng? So what if she has a relationship with Bai Yisheng? Maybe Bai Yisheng will lose her interest after playing for a few days. She is not a serious girlfriend, She is just an actress. Do you think Bai Yisheng can still marry her home? No matter how the woman in the box belittled Chiao Mian Mian. As soon as she appeared, all the men's eyes were focused on her, and their hearts began to itch. He seems to have little interest in the female companion beside him. Chiao Mian Mian has a very bad impression of Boss Huang. After knowing that the fruit plate and red wine were sent by him, she planned to ask the waiter to return them when she went back. However, although she hated Boss Huang in her heart, she was still polite on her face and declined, "No, I came with my friends, and she also wait for me, I have to go back." Boss Huang has been thinking about her for so long, how could he let her go so easily? Miss Jiao is already here, so she might as well sit down and join us. You and your friend are just two people, how boring it is. I'll send someone over to call your friend over. After he finished speaking, he said to the waiter on the side, "Go and call the lady in the opposite box over." "No." Chiao Mian Mian immediately called out to the waiter, "My friends and I don't like too many people, and we don't like playing with unfamiliar people. Sorry, my friend is still waiting for me, I have to go." After Chiao Mian Mian finished speaking, she turned around and walked out of the box. Boss Huang suddenly became anxious. He quickly chased after her and held Chiao Mian Mian's arm, preventing her from leaving. "Miss Chiao, what's the rush? It's not too late to sit down and play for a while before leaving. The people in our box are not wolves, tigers, and leopards who can eat. Don't be afraid." The moment she was pulled by Boss Huang, Chiao Mian Mian felt extremely sick. She felt as if she had been touched by a fly or a cockroach. She remembered what Nana had told her about what kind of person Boss Huang was, and her stomach was churning even more. Feeling nauseated in waves. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1576. Chapter 1576. How dare you stand up to us? She was still polite before because although Boss Huang was disgusting, he didn't offend her and she didn't want to offend anyone. But now she has nothing to worry about. Her face darkened and her voice became colder. "Boss Huang, please let go. I told you, I have no interest in staying here." "Ms. Jiao, you are so disrespectful." A man's voice came from behind Boss Huang, and said with a sneer, "Boss Huang keeps you because he thinks highly of you. There are no other women who want such treatment. Why are you so pretentious? What's the matter, you think you are a bit pretty? Why are you pretending to be so arrogant? I'm not interested in staying here yet, who do you think you are? It's just that you don't know how to flatter me." Another man said, "Boss Huang gave you face and kept you in such a good manner, but you still don't give me face. Don't you take Boss Huang seriously? A small actor, you dare to show off to us? That's how women are, the more they give face to them, the more they take advantage of them." Boss Huang went out to play with his friends. Hearing what the men behind him said, he immediately felt embarrassed. He has never encountered any trouble when it comes to women. Any woman you want can be easily obtained. But now, Chiao Mian Mian not only rejected him, but also rejected him in front of a group of his friends, causing him to be ridiculed by his friends, which made him angry and angry. He felt that he had lost face, and his anger instantly rushed to the top of his head, swallowing up what little sanity he had left. He squeezed Chiao Mian Mian's wrist tightly, his face turned red, and he said fiercely, "Damn, you are so shameless. Tell you, you still pretended to be her mother with me, you have to force me to use violence before you will obey. Who do you think I am? Do you really think I'm asking for your opinion? I tell you, whether you want to stay or not, you are not allowed to leave until I let you go." After saying that, Boss Huang called his thugs over and said fiercely, Go to the door and watch, don't let her out. The two thugs immediately walked out of the box, stood on the left and right, and then closed the door. Boss Huang grabbed Chiao Mianmian's arm and pulled it in hard. Come here and have 2 glasses of wine with me. When other people saw this scene, they clapped their hands and said, Boss Huang is so powerful. Boss Huang is full of masculinity. It should have been like this a long time ago. How can I give her such a face for such a pretentious person? Little girl, you'd better be smarter. Do you know who Boss Huang is? If you can accompany him, you won't have to worry about being in the circle in the future. What kind of resources you want, it's not up to Boss Huang. I advise you. Just be good and don't make everyone unhappy. Let me go. Chiao Mian lowered her face, shook Boss Huang's hand away, turned around and walked towards the door. Boss Huang became even more angry when she threw him away. He seemed to hear his friends behind him laughing at him. Seeing that Chiao Mian had already reached the door, he became angry and rushed over to catch her again. Chiao Mian dodged and watched Boss Huang rush towards her. In desperation, she bent down and picked up a wine bottle on the coffee table and threw it at Boss Huang. A pop sound. The wine bottle hit Boss Huang's forehead, and he saw on his forehead, with blood dripping down his forehead. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1577. Chapter 1577. Mr. Gong, is that lady someone you know? There was a burst of exclamation in the box. Everyone was shocked by this scene. I never thought that Chiao Mian would hit Boss Huang with a wine bottle. Even Boss Huang himself was shocked. His eyes widened and he was stunned for a few seconds, then reached out and touched his forehead. When he touched the blood on his hand, his expression suddenly changed. When he raised his head again and looked at Chiao Mian, there was a cruel look in his eyes. Asterisk. In another box. Linda waited in the box for a while. Seeing that Chiao Mian hadn't come back yet, she felt a little worried and took out her mobile phone to call her. It rang for a long time and Chiao Mian didn't answer. Linda's face changed slightly, and she felt more and more that something was wrong. She immediately stood up and walked out of the box. After leaving the box, I saw 2 tall men in black standing outside the opposite box. Linda walked over. She stretched out her hand to push open the door of the box. The 2 men in black immediately stretched out their hands to stop her, with a ferocious expression on their faces. Who are you and what are you going to do? Linda frowned. Although she was very worried about Chiao Mianmian's condition, she still said patiently, my friend is inside. Get out of the way. I want to go in to find her. There are no friends of yours in it. The 2 men soon knew who she was talking about, and said to her with a cold face, you can go. Linda stood still. If she had doubted that something had happened to Chiao Mian at first, she was almost certain now. Chiao Mian obviously went to this box. But now, these 2 men stopped her and refused to let her in. If there was no suspicion, why did they stop her? Thinking of this, Linda frowned more and more, and she became more and more worried. Chiao Mianmian's face would make a man's heart beat just looking at it. If something happens to her here, the consequences are unimaginable. Get out of the way, Linda wanted to forcefully break in. She reached out and pushed a bodyguard, and pulled the door handle with her other hand to open the door. The other bodyguard saw this and immediately stretched out his hand to hold her down. Linda struggled and shouted outside the door, Mian, are you in there? Let me go and let me in. What did you do to Mian? Do you know whose woman she is? You are offended you won't be able to eat and walk around. At the corner of the corridor, a slender and tall figure walked over surrounded by several people. The man surrounded in the middle has a handsome appearance, with deep facial features as if carved by a knife, a pair of narrow and deep eyes, and a luxurious and compelling aura around him. His face has a stern expression, and his eyes are also very cold. The four characters "keep away from strangers" seem to be written on that handsome and feminine face. The man walked expressionlessly. When she heard Linda shouting the words "Chiao Mian Mian," she paused. He looked in the direction of Linda's shout. A middle-aged man wearing a suit and tie next to him also stopped and followed his gaze. "I don't see why," he asked doubtfully. "Master Gong, is that lady someone you know?" Gong Zili frowned. On the other side, while Linda was shouting, she turned her head and saw Gong Zili standing not far away. Her face showed joy, and she immediately waved to Gong Zili and said, Master Gong, please help me quickly, Mian Mian. She was locked in a box and they wouldn't let me in." End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1578. Chapter 1578 kicked open the box door. Gong Zili's expression suddenly changed and he strode over. The few people following him looked at each other for a few seconds, and then quickly followed him. When she saw Gong Zili coming over, Linda was so moved that she almost cried. Fortunately, Gong Zili did not ignore her. Gong Zili walked quickly to Linda and asked with a stern face, "Did you just say that Chiao Mian Mian was in danger?" "Yes, Mian Mian just went to this box and didn't come back for a long time. I was afraid that if something happened to her, I would come here to find her. But they stopped me and refused to let me in." Linda was extremely anxious. "Mr. Gong, you go in and take a look, Mian Mian must be in some danger." The expressions of the two bodyguards changed when they heard Linda call her Mr. Gong. Seeing Gong Zili, who had already walked up to him again, his expression changed again. They, who had been so majestic just now, immediately let go of their hands. These bodyguards are all Boss Huang's personal bodyguards. I also went to many dinner banquets with Boss Huang before. So they naturally knew Gong Zili. Yunchinj is a famous overlord with a temper that even the King of Heaven and I would not recognize. And because of the power of the Gong family, few people can do anything to him. Their boss Huang is powerful. But compared with the crown prince of the Gong family, he is nothing at all. If he offends the crown prince of the Gong family, boss Huang will only get a beating. When they saw Linda, they knew Gong Zili, so how could they dare to restrain Linda anymore? "Mr. Gong, this is a misunderstanding." Looking at Gong Zili's increasingly cold eyes, the two bodyguards panicked and said hurriedly, "The friend this lady mentioned, no, is not in the box. Let's stop him. It's not because I don't want her to see her friends, it's because it's inconvenient. Mr. Gong." Before the two bodyguards could finish their eager explanations, Gong Zili kicked the door of the box open. The bodyguard's expression suddenly changed. Seeing Miyazawa walking towards the box, they wanted to stop him, but they didn't dare to actually stop him. Linda immediately followed Gong Zili into the box. The light in the box is dim. The smell of perfume, alcohol, and cigarette smoke on the woman's body mixed together to form an extremely unpleasant smell. Gong Zili walked into the box and frowned. At a glance, he saw Boss Huang dragging Chiao Mian Mian and throwing her onto the sofa. Boss Huang didn't know that someone else had entered the box. He squeezed Chiao Mian Mian's wrist tightly and threw her onto the sofa. After Gong Zili saw clearly who was being dragged by Boss Huang, his face instantly became extremely gloomy, and a storm filled the man's narrow and feminine phoenix eyes. The next second, he was seen behind Boss Huang like lightning. Before the people in the box could see what he looked like, they heard Boss Huang let out a howl like a slaughtering pig. Then he fell to the ground. "Ah, it hurt so much, my hand." After Boss Huang fell to the ground, he was rolling on the ground in pain. Gong Zili broke one of his hands, but felt that it was not enough to relieve his anger, so he kicked him hard in the chest a few more times. Each step went down without leaving any strength. Boss Huang howled incessantly and immediately vomited a few mouthfuls of blood and shouted in horror, "Help, help!" Gong Zili squatted down, grabbed his collar, and punched his fleshy face a few more times. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1579. Chapter 1579. What he did just now, was he sick? She is also a woman you dare to bully, she is looking for death. Just thinking about the scene he just saw, the blood in Gong Zili's body seemed to be on fire, boiling in his veins. He couldn't imagine that if he hadn't come here for something today, if he hadn't happened to meet. What will happen next? As soon as he thought about the possible consequences, his eyes turned scarlet again, and the strength on his hands became heavier and heavier. Ah, don't hit, don't hit. Help! After a few punches, Boss Huang almost fainted. He covered his blood-stained face with his hands, rolling on the ground and howling. Everyone else in the box was shocked. When someone stepped forward to stop him, he recognized Gong Zili and was so frightened that his face turned pale. Hunted back immediately. Soon, others also knew that the man who pushed Boss Huang to the ground and beat him was Gong Zili, the crown prince of the Gong family. Now, no one dares to help. Only those who are tired of living will offend the crown prince of the Gong family. Boss Huang's screams never stopped. He was beaten until his face was covered with blood. He screamed and his voice gradually became quieter. Gong Zili, please stop fighting. Chiao Mian watched in horror as Gong Zili's eyes were scarlet, beating Boss Huang to death as if he was possessed by a demon. Seeing that Boss Huang's physical strength was gradually weakening, and he even had no strength to scream, she was afraid that if he continued to beat him like this, something went wrong, and I wanted to reach out and pull Miyazawa away. Just as she grabbed Gong Zili's arm, she felt that the man's body seemed to freeze. Then, all movements seemed to be frozen, momentarily, motionless. Chiao Mian was stunned for a moment and didn't think too much. Seeing that he stopped, she finally breathed a sigh of relief. She quickly pulled him away. Stop hitting him. If you keep hitting him, someone will die. The man who seemed to be possessed by Satan a moment ago, exuding a terrifying aura all over his body, making people dare not approach him, now seems to be a different person, with the terrifying aura all over his body dissipating as quickly as the ebbing tide, and he still looks like a new man. The extremely obedient primary school student obediently allowed Chiao Mian to pull him aside. At this time, Boss Huang had already fainted. His bodyguards waited for Gong Zili to leave before they dared to step forward and lift the unconscious Boss Huang to the hospital. Chiao Mian waited until the bodyguards sent Boss Huang away, then slowly let go of his hand. At this time, Gong Zili seemed to have calmed down a lot. His eyes were not as scarlet as before, and there was no anger in them anymore. Chiao Mian felt a little scary when she thought about his appearance just now. She suddenly thought that some people said that the crown prince of the Gong family was suffering from some kind of manic disease. When he was very young, he even hurt people when he got sick. What he did just now, was he sick? Chiao Mian was a little scared, but very grateful. No matter what, Gong Zili was saving her just now. Without his timely appearance, Chiao Mian didn't dare to think about what would happen next. Boss Huang lost his mind after she smashed his head. Even when she said that Bai Yashen was her brother, he didn't care. Gong Zili, are you okay now? Chiao Mian was shocked when she saw blood on the back of his hand. She stared at the back of his hand and asked, are you injured? Gong Zili said nothing. His heartbeat is still beating very fast and has not yet calmed down. On his arm, the touch when she touched him seemed to still remain, and he could even feel the residual warmth in her palm. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 1580. Chapter 1580, Are you worried about me? She knew she was simply trying to stop him. However, that touch made his heart unable to calm down for a long time. Chiao Mian saw that he didn't say anything. When she looked up, she saw a blank expression on his face, as if he was distracted. She was a little worried, and waved her hand in front of his eyes. Gongzili, what's wrong with you? Please say something. Are you injured? Do you want to go to the hospital? Chiao Mian's impression of Gongzili was not good. Even though he helped her several times later. It was just a little bit of impression that he had a little better impression. When she was with Gongzili, she was not as relaxed and comfortable as she was with Yan Shaoqing and Lu Rao. She can consider Yan Shaoqing and Lu Rao as friends. But for Miyazawa, thinking of his relationship with Shenro, Chiao Mian couldn't treat him as a friend. But, no matter what, Gongzili was also injured because of her. No matter what happens to her, you still have to care about her. This time, Miyazawa Li seemed to finally hear what she was saying, and the expression on his face and eyes changed slightly. His eyes moved, his narrow phoenix eyes opened a little, and he lowered his eyes to look at Chiao Mian. He saw worry in Chiao Mian's eyes. Even though he knew that she would be worried about him just because he stepped forward to help her, his heart still trembled violently because of that look in her eyes. He pursed his lips and was silent for a few seconds. He looked down at the blood stains on the back of his hand, reached out and wiped it casually on the back of his hand, and said in a calm tone, "I'm fine, I'm not injured, this is not my blood." "It's not your blood, that's..." Chiao Mian quickly thought about where the blood on the back of his hand came from. She felt a little relieved. "That's good, I thought you were injured." Gongzili lowered his eyes and looked at the blood on the back of his hand. After looking at it for a while, he slowly raised his head. Something flashed in his narrow and deep eyes. He looked at her and whispered, "If I get hurt, you will be worried me." As soon as he asked this question, he regretted it a little. Chiao Mian was also startled and looked at him a little surprised. Gongzili met her gaze, his eyes flashed, and he clenched his fists to hide the panic deep in his heart. His face was still very calm and calm. "If you don't want to answer, you don't have to answer. I'm just casual. Ask." Institutions. Although Chiao Mian thought his question was a bit strange, she couldn't figure out why it was so strange. She thought about it seriously before replying, "You were injured because of me, so of course I will be worried." This answer is expected. But Gongzili still felt very comfortable and satisfied in his heart. No matter what the reason was for her to be worried about him, her words made him feel that everything was worth it. The corners of his lips couldn't help but rise. When he looked at her, a soft color flashed across his eyes very quickly. When he spoke, his tone was gentle that others could not feel. "Let's leave here first and find another place to talk." Gongzili just gave Boss Huang a violent beating. Everyone else in the box was so frightened that their faces turned pale and they didn't even dare to take a breath. They are afraid that the next second, they will become the next yellow boss. After all, they had booed before. If Chiao Mian really wanted to pursue the case, they would be considered accomplices. This group of people have also heard of Gongzili's great achievements when he was a child. Who can not be afraid? Just now I witnessed Gongzili beating Boss Huang like that, and I was even more frightened. End of this chapter.